Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We have some rather grim news right now to tell you. There has been a plane crash in San Diego, California. A plane crash in Southern California's San Diego neighborhood. The plane crashed early this morning into a very urbanized neighborhood, a military neighborhood near Miramar Naval Air Station. Actually, it's not Miramar Naval Air Station, it's Miramar Marine Corps Air Station, but it's between Miramar and Montgomery Field, which is a municipal airport in San Diego. The plane crashed during foggy weather early this morning. At least 15 homes have been on fire, as well as vehicles in the area of Sample and Salmon Street. Let me put up a map here of that area. Hold on a second. Let me just have a shake here. This is that area around Sample Street and Montgomery Field. Okay. The crash site is at Sample Street here in Tierra Santa area, or Serra Mesa area, I should say. But the plane was inbound from the Midwest when it came into San Diego and crashed just outside Montgomery Field. Let me tell you that it is a grim scene. I am going to play for you a video in just a couple of minutes here of what this scene looks like. It's not a good scene at all. Okay? Large plane parts and heavy smoke around the neighborhood where the plane crashed is evident. According to the Federal Aviation Administration, which already has people on the scene, the Cessna 550 went down around 3:45 a.m. this morning near Montgomery Gibbs Executive Airport in the Tierra Santa community, specifically in the area of Sculpin Street and Santo Road. Sculpin Street and Santo Road. Authorities have not yet released information on how many people were aboard the aircraft or if there were any injuries. San Diego police and other responders were on the scene, and residents were asked to avoid the area. We have jet fuel all over the place, according to Assistant Fire Chief Dan Eddy. There's jet fuel all over the place. Now, what makes this very dangerous? The jet fuel crashed, the plane crashed into the neighborhood, and jet fuel from the wings engine or wings where the fuel is stored has now gone onto the street and into the gutters, and that is why the fire spread throughout many neighborhoods. Jet fuel's literally all over the place. It leaked through storm drains and down into other neighborhoods. The main goal, according to Fire Chief Eddy, was to search all these homes and get everybody out right now. There's been a direct hit to multiple homes, and what is being described as a gigantic debris field in a dense urban neighborhood. Chris Moore, who lives on one street over the crash site, said he and his family were awakened by a loud bang and saw smoke where they looked out the window. They grabbed their two young children and ran out of the house. On the way out of the neighborhood, they saw a car engulfed in flames. It was definitely a horrifying sight for sure, but sometimes you just got to drop your head and get to safety. Chief Eddy said it was very foggy at the time when the plane crashed. You could barely see in front of you. Now, I've been in this neighborhood before. I used to live in San Diego. I've been all throughout this area. This is bad. This is very bad. Let me play this video for you to give you a good idea what is like right now in San Diego City. I had this all set up. I don't know why this is doing this to me.
Is constant shoulder pain limiting your life? At a free webinar with experts from Sharp Healthcare, you'll learn about the latest non-surgical and surgical treatment options. Register.
Families and a lot of kids, and again, this is all military housing, so it's quite an experience for all of them.
Absolutely, David, and thanks for giving us that interview. Absolute carnage, that neighbor.
Yeah.
David, when she stepped outside at 4 a.m., saw the end result of a plane crash and all of her neighbors' cars on fire, and many of the homes also damaged as well.
And you heard her mention being military families, they live paycheck to paycheck. In fact, I remember we've covered many food drives at places like Hancock Elementary that's currently closed right now because of this fire. So these families need help financially. Obviously, if their cars are destroyed, how are they going to get to work? How are they going to get to school? There's so much, obviously, that we're going to see and hear about over the next several weeks and months after something like this.
San Diego always comes together in these types of moments. We already have crews assembling at Miller Elementary, 100 people displaced right now. We will be continuing to follow this breaking news. You can always catch us on CBS8.com, our app, and social media pages, but we are staying on air to bring you the latest on this plane crash, which resulted in multiple fatalities for those on board. No one in the neighborhood was taken to the hospital with any serious injuries.
And we should mention the fog in the area, as the assistant fire chief initially said, when he was driving to the scene at 4 in the morning, he couldn't see in front of him.
Yeah,
so
really thick out
I can't imagine for a pilot what that would be like.
Yeah, we had it down to under a mile at times, especially through the 3 and 4 o'clock hour this morning. We haven't seen all that many improvements made on that front, so important to recognize that even as we make our way now through the 8 o'clock hour, where we would typically see that marine layer kind of pulling its way back, we are barely seeing those improvements. We're still only at 3 miles of visibility in Oceanside. We're at 2 miles in Kearny Mesa, very close to that crash site. And one important emphasis on this is that while we typically can kind of make out both the base and the ceiling of those clouds, the top of the cloud cover, we weren't able to do so with this marine layer today. And that's because it had a lot more density to it. So that means that any plane that was making its way down toward the runway, for example, would have had to have gone through a pretty thick layer of clouds in order to do so. And when that visibility is reduced, it is a problem countywide. It was an issue at San Diego International this morning, at Montgomery, at Brownfield. So it doesn't really matter where it is, but out along the coast and inland, fog has definitely played a role in every plane that's been trying to land over the last several hours. We, again, don't know for sure that fog was the culprit for this, but we're trying to get that information. One other kind of piece of this that helps to paint the picture is that satellite radar imagery. You can see how it's extending all the way out pretty far east through our inland valleys. I'm going to zoom into the crash site where it took place in proximity to Montgomery Field, where that plane was trying to land. That plane was trying to land where the 163 meets the 805. You can see that Montgomery Field location just off of Arrow Drive. So if you follow Arrow Drive just to the 15, off to the east of the 15 is where that crash site was. That's the Arrow Drive exit off the 15, and that's its proximity to Montgomery Field. Not far at all. So what we're watching for is that throughout this morning commute, the 15 exit is closed at Arrow Drive. You won't be able to make your way off. Earlier this morning, we had those fire officials telling our crews that they were trying to get everyone out of the area. They are not trying to get anyone into it because it is still a very active scene. Here's a live look right now as that fog begins to lift. Earlier this morning, it was hard to see in front of the camera whatsoever. You could just barely make out the headlights. But now you're kind of starting to see that gray pull its way back on the northbound 15. This is at Miramar Way, not exactly where that crash took place, but in close proximity. So let's take you to those traffic maps. We can kind of show you what we're seeing in that area. First.
Okay, I'm going to stop it real quick. Catherine Sigerson is asking, was it a big plane? No, it was a small jet Cessna. It was a Cessna 550 small jet.
First things first, the northbound 15 is still seeing quite a bit of congestion. Stop and go traffic from the 8 all the way up to this exit. The exit ramp to the 15 at Arrow Drive closed because of this. SIG alert going to be in play for likely the next day or so. We even heard fire crews saying there's a possibility that this neighborhood stays shut down to the public for at least 24 hours, which means that even homeowners in that area might not be able to get to their homes for another day or two. Restrictions are going to stay in place there, but if you're just trying to make your way through that morning commute out there, it's probably a better idea to just try to reroute off to the northbound 805, because you can see how that stop and go traffic is all the way up that red through the 15. If you reroute to the 805, you'll likely have a little bit of a smoother morning commute out there. So while we still contend with plenty of that fog, we are going to be moving in the direction of sunshine. It just typically takes until 9, 10 a.m. for us to see that sunshine, and over the last couple days that hasn't been much of an issue, but as you can see this morning it has been. By the time we get to midday, we'll be back to sunshine. Temperatures will be in the 70s and 80s out there, but again, the biggest impacts are going to be related to that fog for mornings to come, where we are likely to still run into limited visibility out by the coast and inland, which means that for days to come, flights into and out of San Diego International, Montgomery Field could be impacted by it before we start to transition toward a more sunny afternoon in the forecast. But Ned and Eric, I mean, no doubt that regardless of if this plane saw impacts related to fog, every flight into and out of San Diego International, that's kind of the main story of the morning that those air traffic controllers have been alerting people of. So what we've been watching for on our even National Weather Service aviation feed is that fog is the biggest thing to watch for as we head through the morning commute, and that it is likely to impact not only drivers throughout that morning commute, but also anyone, pilots, and anyone involved in aviation this morning. So again, patchy low clouds continue about 10 miles or so, with bases ranging from about 400 feet to 900 feet, and that visibility down to under 2 miles in most spots across the county, possibly worsening for coastal communities. For now, Ned and Eric, I'll send things back to you.
Okay, I'm going to drop it right there. I want to give you some more information that's come to light here of what's happened. Okay, right now it's light outside. Okay, the plane crashed approximately 3:45 a.m. this morning, but even now it is approximately 8:20 a.m. in San Diego right now, Pacific time. We are being told now that the smell of jet fuel is still lingering in the air after the crash. Authorities have worked to put out one stubborn car fire that they described as a very frightening scene in the aftermath of the crash. Let me put up the picture of the scene right now that we have here. This is just one area here where a stubborn truck refused to die. The jet fuel was spread all over these homes, all throughout the neighborhood. And as you can see, the vegetation, which is creeping ivy here, which is very common throughout San Diego County. The ivy keeps the water in the soil and keeps things from burning. But as you can see, the fire burned all of this ivy here, and you see 4 police officers still working in this area. Unreal, literally unreal. Let me show you another picture of an image that we have here where this plane crashed, right here. Look at this, guys. The roof of the garage caved in on this home here, and there's utter devastation throughout this area, literally. Police Chief Scott Wall from San Diego Police said he can't put into words to describe what the scene looks like, with jet fuel going all up and down the street, everything on fire all at once. It was a pretty horrific scene to see. Half a dozen fully charred cars sat on the street, and tree limbs, glass, and pieces of white and blue metal from the airplane were scattered all along the road. At the end of the street, black smoke billowed at the site as it continued to burn. Christopher Moore, who lives on one of the streets over from the crash site, said he and his wife were awakened with a loud bang. They saw smoke, looked out the window, grabbed their young children, and took off. It was a horrifying scene. Police rescued 3 husky puppies from one home and rolled them away from the crash scene in a wagon. A few blocks away, families, including the Moores that I told you about, stood in their pajamas in the parking lot waiting for word of when they can return to their homes. The neighborhood is made up of single-family homes and townhomes near Marine Corps Air Station Miramar. And right between Miramar and Montgomery Gibbs Executive Airport that I show you on the map. Police Chief Eddie said it was very foggy at the time, again, when the plane crashed. You could barely see in front of you. That may have been part of the problem why this plane crashed this morning. The FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board are leading the investigation on the ground right now. In October 2021, a twin-engine plane plowed into a San Diego suburb, killing 1 pilot and a UPS delivery driver on the ground and burning homes. The plane then was preparing to land at this same airport. In December 2008, a Marine Corps fighter jet slammed into a house in San Diego's University neighborhood, causing an explosion that killed 4 people inside. The Marine Corps blamed the crash on mechanical failure and human error. This happens. This happens. It's almost unavoidable. It's almost unavoidable. Now, I want to ask you now if you have any questions. I'll be able to give you some very good answers because I used to live in San Diego City. Don Patoga says JP4 jet fuel is a great grass and weed control. Yes, it is. But you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Yes, this is a real shocker, guys. Back in approximately 1980, we had a plane crash, which was a large passenger jet from Pacific Southwest Airlines, which is no longer in existence today. But that jet crashed in a suburban neighborhood in San Diego City, just east of the airport, San Diego Airport, Lindbergh Field. That jetliner literally went like this and plowed straight into the ground like this. It was incredible. I was there. I saw the aftermath. Everyone on board that aircraft was killed that day. It happens. It happens. Catherine Sigerson said we should do a show on emotional coping after a disaster. We can do that. We can do that. In fact, I know several counselors we might be able to get on the air with us to talk about that. That's a great idea. Anybody else have any questions? Now, this aircraft plowed into the ground about 6 hours ago, just over 6 hours ago. It's a tragic scene over in San Diego City now. Very tragic scene. I can't even describe the horrificness of the scene. Okay? To see fellow officers in this area looking at, I believe they're looking at possible evidence from the scene. And you can notice that 2 of the officers, maybe all 4 of them, are wearing masks because of the heaviness of the jet fuel in the area. Sage Pup is asking how many people were on the flight. We don't know. That's still unknown. They haven't put that information out yet. Any other questions? These are all good questions, guys. Elaine is asking what size plane and how many passengers. We do not know how many passengers were on board that aircraft. The aircraft says a 550. Let me bring up a picture here. Hold on a second. Let me show you a picture of the aircraft. This is a Cessna 550. It was not a prop job. This is a jetliner. This was a jetliner. I've been told that this aircraft can transport up to 10 or 15 people. I don't know how many people were on the aircraft. Nobody said anything. Nobody said anything about how many people were on the aircraft, but it appears right now that everyone on the aircraft passed away. Let's see here. This is a developing story, so I'm just getting this information for you. Okay. Multiple people are dead after that private plane crashed into the military housing neighborhood in San Diego City this morning. This area is popularly called Murphy Canyon. Murphy Canyon. That is an area around that Arrow Drive area. It's called Murphy Canyon, Arrow Drive. Arrow Drive is where the Radio Shack that I used to work part-time 4 years ago. I've just been told now that the San Diego police and fire officials said that the plane could hold up to 8 to 10 people, but they do not know yet how many people were on board. A huge fireball erupted after the crash, setting multiple homes and cars ablaze. At least 15 properties have been affected as of now. According to NBC 7 in San Diego, neighbors said they heard a loud boom after the walls shook and they saw the blaze happen. Local officials have said that the eruption looked like an explosion, similar to fireworks. As residents have been evacuated from the neighborhood due to the hazmat situation, evacuations have spanned multiple streets in the neighborhood. Approximately 100 people have been evacuated and are at a local elementary school right now. The cause of the crash still remains under investigation. Now, surgery said it's interesting to know how much fuel is on board. One would think its landing was not, with its landing of the aircraft, not much of the fuel would be left. That's a possibility. But you remember this, fuel tanks, even though they are semi-empty, they're not totally empty. There are fumes from the jet fuel. The fumes from the jet fuel always have the ability to flame up. And that might be part of the problem. Now, Arlo is asking, was this military owned? No, it was a private jet. This was not coming into Miramar Marine Corps Air Station. This was landing at Montgomery Field in San Diego City. Now, this Montgomery Field is not a private, but is a commercial aircraft area. And commercial aircraft and privately owned planes come in there all the time. Montgomery Field is not the main airport. Lindbergh Field is the main airport in San Diego. One neighbor said a loud boom and the walls shook. They saw the blaze happen and they scampered out of their neighborhoods. Literally, that's the words they used. They scampered out of the neighborhood. All residents have been evacuated from the neighborhood due to the hazmat situation on the ground. The cause of the plane crash still remains under investigation. I just was given a new picture here. Let me bring this up for you as well. This is another view of that plane crash area. Let me expand this photo for you. Look at that. Now, San Diego police officials apparently took a trash can out there to spread their police tape out to cordon off the scene for an investigation. When something like this happens, police often put up this crime scene tape to cordon off the area so nobody will go through the crime scene. You don't want to disturb the crime scene because investigators go in and want to know exactly what happened. And they peek through the evidence piece by piece, literally. They pick through the evidence piece by piece to find out what happened. Don Patoka here in the chat says the most dangerous crash is little fuel on board and it's more explosive. You're right, because the fumes of the jet fuel or any kind of fuel, whether it's a passenger car or not, that fuel vapor catches fire very easily. Brokefish gave us a flight radar look at the airport. I want to show that to you in just a second. Let me pull this up here. Okay, this is unreal, guys. This is literally unreal. Give me a second here. Okay, just a second here. Give me a second, guys. I've got a really good picture here I'm trying to bring up for you. If you guys give me just a minute here. This is coming from Flight Radar 24. Here, just give me a second here. This is it right here. This is the neighborhood of Tierra-Santa. Okay. Right here. This is where the plane crashed, right in this area. Now, it looks like it's fairly wooded area, but it's not. These are homes and apartments, townhomes and such all over this area. Okay. You can see Miller Elementary here. There's Tierra Santa Boulevard. Here's where the crash happened, right here in this neighborhood. Okay. This is that neighborhood where that plane crashed here. Does anybody have any questions for me? Don Patoga describes it for Kenita Warrior as an unplanned jet landing in a garage in a San Diego neighborhood. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. It's hard to even imagine what happened here, guys. I've been at plane crashes before. I've been in all kinds of incidents in San Diego before, but every incident like this is different. Every incident just like this is different. Okay? You cannot even fathom the devastation. You can't even fathom the devastation that happens here. It's not possible. It's absolutely not possible. Okay? Now, I do have a graphic picture here. Now, folks, this is a picture of the fire that erupted right after the plane crashed. Hold on a second. I don't know why I'm not able to pull this picture up here. that's rather unusual here. Oh, I know why. Just a second. Let me see if I can still pull this out. Let me see if I can do this a different way here. It's not letting me do it. Apparently, the picture that was sent to me is of a format that's not compatible. Let me see if I can do it a different way here.
My name is Holly, and my dream is to be a trauma surgeon.
Hold on a second, guys. Don is asking, was the photo censored because it's the truth? Possibly. This is what the neighborhood looked like early this morning when the plane crashed at 3:45 a.m. This is a real mess. This is a real mess. Berlinda's calling it, this is a mess I don't understand. Guys, that happens. This happens. There's no real rhyme or reason when it happens. Again, there was dense fog in the San Diego area this morning when this plane crashed. That might have been one of the reasons that this plane did crash. Might have been one of the reasons this plane crashed. Let me see if I can play this short clip here for you. This is what it looked like this morning. The plane did plow into several homes. Approximately 15 homes were destroyed. Approximately 15 homes were destroyed. Lena Vilcon says plane crash. Yes, it was. Again, this plane crash, for those of you that have just come here, happened in San Diego urban neighborhood just outside Miramar Naval Air Station in the what they call the Tierra Santa area. This is a military neighborhood. The military built these homes and townhomes a long, long time ago. This is a military neighborhood. Okay. Now let me go back here let me go back here and give you an update of what's happened. Okay. For those of you that have just joined us, I would ask you to please hang in here with us, as this is a developing story here. Okay. Again, at 3:45 a.m. this morning, a small plane, a Cessna 550 aircraft, crashed in a San Diego urban neighborhood, just outside Montgomery Field, between Montgomery Field, which is a commercial field, and Miramar Marine Corps Air Station. This happened early this morning. It's hard to even imagine what's going on here. It really is. It's hard to even imagine what's going on here. Now, when this plane crashed right in the home, you see several homes, you see one home in this picture here that burned. Another home like this, with this aircraft crashing into it. This was a commercial plane. It was not a small Piper Cub. This was a Cessna 550 jetliner, jet fuel, carrying about 8 to 10 people here on this aircraft. Okay? This aircraft plowed into at least 15 homes that were on fire and vehicles on fire as well in the area of Sample and Salmon Street in the Tierra Santa neighborhood, forcing evacuations along several blocks in that area. Large plane parts, heavy smoke around the neighborhood where the plane crashed. Okay? According to the FAA, this was again a Cessna 550 aircraft that went down 3:45 a.m. near Montgomery Gibbs Executive Airport in the Tierra Santa community, specifically in the Sample Sculpin Street area, Central Road and Sculpin Street. Authorities have not yet released information on how many people were on board the aircraft or if there were any injuries. Right now, we believe that everyone on the ground has come through almost unscathed, maybe minor injuries at all. San Diego police and other first responders were on the scene almost instantaneously. As I remember myself, San Diego Fire Department has a fire engine near this neighborhood, and residents were advised to avoid the area right now. Residents were evacuated to a local elementary school where 100 people have been evacuated so far, according to Assistant Fire Chief Dan Eddy from San Diego Fire. He said, "We have jet fuel all over the place." Their main goal was to search all these homes and get everybody out then. There's been a direct hit on multiple homes. It's been described as a large, gigantic debris field. Christopher Moore, who lives on that street, described it openly when he and his family heard a loud bang and saw smoke when they looked out their window. They grabbed their 2 young children and ran out of the house. On their way out of the neighborhood, they saw a car engulfed in flames. It was definitely a horrifying scene for sure, but sometimes you just got to drop your head and get to safety. Chief Eddy said it was very foggy at the time. You could barely see in front of you when the plane crashed. At 5:30 a.m., San Diego Fire Rescue said that no one had been transported from the scene. There had been no distress calls. The aircraft did not put up a distress call. San Diego Fire has evacuated multiple neighborhoods around the impacted area. The department is working to go through every home where the plane impacted to ensure that no one was hurt. According to San Diego Fire Rescue, it was a privately owned Cessna aircraft, Cessna 550, that was on its way to Montgomery Gibbs Field, which is again a commercial field. San Diego Fire is actively searching for the pilot and the other people who may have been on board. Fire Rescue is working in conjunction with the FAA to determine why this plane crashed and what happened. The California Highway Patrol, the San Diego Police Department, and also federal police that I used to work with, and the National Transportation Safety Board are on scene. San Diego Fire said the incident is now a hazmat situation due to the flow of plane fuel and the hazardous fumes along the streets. Hancock Elementary and Miller Elementary School are closed. Hancock Elementary in San Diego and Miller Elementary School are closed. Miller Elementary School is providing childcare today. A traffic alert was issued for a nearby freeway. Off-ramps from northbound Interstate 15 to Arrow Drive have been closed. Restrictions are in place on Sample Street. The FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board are investigating this crash, and the NTSB is also leading the probe. Don Patoga is asking, was their IFR compromised? Yes, it was. It was foggy, very dense fog in the area. IFR is instrument flight rules. Now, instrument flight rules are different from visual flight rules, VFR. Now, the IFR was compromised because the computer systems fail sometimes in this kind of weather. Okay? Sometimes the computers fail, aircraft computers fail in this kind of weather. They cannot reach the satellites getting them information. That's what happens. And yes, that thick fog did play a part in this crash. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. Montgomery Field is a very well-traveled field, aircraft field. We've had very few crashes in this neighborhood ever before. Very few crashes anywhere in this area. Don, I don't know if ILS issues played a part. I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know. Now, ILS, for those that don't know, is Instrument Landing System. That means the landing gear deployed and the aircraft landing lights are on. Now, I don't know whether the landing gear went down or not. I don't know if there's a problem with that. And yes, Linda, we always have to be looking at the sky. We always have to be looking at the sky for this and other reasons. Do we have any other questions here? Do we have any other questions here? Again, an aircraft, a Cessna 550 aircraft, went down in the Tierra Santa neighborhood, which is a military housing neighborhood just outside of Miramar Naval Air Station this morning. It's unknown how many people were on board this aircraft, but it was very foggy coming into Montgomery Field this morning, or any field at all. Heavy fog. That may have played a part on what happened. When planes get in clouds, sometimes the instrument flight rules go out the window because the clouds obscure the satellites that are feeding information to the aircraft. That happens. We're going to figure out what happened. We're going to figure out what happened. Don Patoga says ILS equals Doppler radar. That's possible. That's very possible. ILS is an instrument landing system. It's a precision radio navigation system. It's a precision radio navigation system. Long-range guidance to aircraft to allow them to approach a runway at night or in bad weather. There may have been a failure there. There may have been a failure there. But this plane, unknown how many people were on board, went down in basically a government area, a government neighborhood. Then the company says a private plane. Yes, it was a private plane. It was a private plane. This was not a regularly scheduled plane coming in. It was probably chartered. It's probably a chartered aircraft. Do we have any other questions here? Yeah. Linda Covington says new mode of travel. Yeah. But again, a private aircraft, we don't know who owned the aircraft or anything, but a private aircraft, a plane carrying about 8 to 10 people went down in a Tierra neighborhood in San Diego City. 3:45 a.m. this morning, crashed into homes in the area. About approximately 15 homes were on fire. Everybody on the ground supposedly was evacuated from the information we have right now. No, we don't have the tail number right now. Brokefish Inn is asking, do we have a tail number? No, we don't. I wish we did. I really wish we did. If we had the tail number, we would definitely be able to see where the aircraft was coming from. And I don't think we really know that. The FAA may know, but they haven't released that information. We also don't know who the aircraft was working for, who was owned by. St. Cliff says he's going to start traveling by horse. Yeah. Now, folks, let me say this too. Since the beginning of the year, we've seen a lot of plane crashes from the East Coast to the West Coast. Plenty of plane crashes. This is probably the 12th or 13th plane crash that we've talked about. Now, this is very sad, okay? Never in my life have I ever seen or heard about that many plane crashes and loss of life. Okay, I haven't seen that before. And we're just barely into, well, actually not just barely, we're coming into the end of May, 5 months. 5 months we've had 12, 13 plane crashes. It's incredible. Incredible. Anyway, guys, if we don't have any more questions or anything, I'm going to let you go. We will be coming back on the air this evening to tell you more about what happened, get the latest information for you, and we're going to be talking about earthquakes in the Pacific Northwest, Washington, Oregon, southwestern Canada. That's going to be our primary focus tonight. I hope you have a great day here. We still have many hours of sunlight here available. Get out and have some fun. Get out and enjoy today. Get some sun. It's good for you. Not a lot of sun, but some sun is good for you. Have fun. Enjoy your families. Hold your families close. This situation today is a very good example of why we should hold our families close. Okay? It really is. I hope you have a good day. We'll see you a little bit later tonight, sometime after 6 p.m. Between 6 and 7 p.m. this evening, we'll be back on the air. Have a good day.